Hello everyone, Fred Jones here, and welcome to another episode of Afterschool Guru Presents. Today our conversation is with Kwamara Thompson, Managing Director of Partnerships for Classroom Inc. I'm excited to hear Kwamara's story and to share Read to Lead with you as a tremendous resource for after-school programs, because best of all, it's absolutely free. You can also find links to Classroom Inc. and Read to Lead in the video description. So let's get started. I hope you enjoy, and please leave a comment to let us know what you think. Welcome, and I am extra excited to welcome Ms. Kwamara Thompson here today from Read to Lead, who's going to be talking to us. And I see we got Ginger's on the call. Good to see you, Ginger. Hey, Patricia. I know that a lot of you are familiar a little bit with Read to Lead, and so we will be talking about Read to Lead, but really we're talking about this larger conversation about activating youth voice and choice through these virtual learning environments. And so Kwamara is the perfect person to talk about this, because not only does she work for Read to Lead and she's the manager director of partnerships there, but she also is just a guru when it comes in terms to technology, disseminating information virtually and stuff. And so that's why I was really excited that she had some time to come on the call so that she could share some of that information for you. Okay, so what this is an informative call where we're going to share some information, tips, and resources that will help you out. And we're also going to focus on Read to Lead today because it is a phenomenal literacy engagement game program for you that I think for a lot of you who are familiar with it already, you know what I'm talking about, but we've rolled out all this new stuff to help you virtually in this time of crisis, and it's free. Yo, you can't get no better than that, right? So, I mean, that's why we wanted to bring this to you and make sure that all you guys had access to this. So before I jump into working with and having a conversation with Kwamara, I want to have a quick conversation and allow myself to introduce Ms. Laura Wasson. Laura is one of the TA fellows. She's also associate director for the extended child care in Santa Rosa, correct? I got it right this time. I didn't mess it up, all right? She's the assistant director for extended child care in Santa Rosa, and she's also a phenomenal CalSAC trainer. She's been working with me on the last 3 episodes. She's my co-host. She's the person to make sure that people are getting in the room and not being stuck out. But she's also going to help to interject her own opinions and her own valuable expertise in this topic. And as well, she's going to run an ordered conversation at the end so we can all kind of leave on a big, good, positive note. So, Laura, you want to say hello to everybody?
Hi, everybody. It's good to see everyone.
Awesome.
Thanks,
awesome.
Fred.
You're the best. You're the best. All right, so Mr. Selvey, I wanted to give Troy a special introduction as well. Troy Selvey is from the California Afterschool Network. He can introduce himself, but the California Afterschool Network has also co-sponsored this event so that we can share this information to the field. So Troy, you want to say hello to everybody?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Troy Selvey with California Afterschool Network. I think I know pretty much everyone here, but to those who are going to be watching this recording later or joining us at a later date, we're grateful to be able to be here to have the opportunity to create space. And Fred just is super excited that we're able to work together, and do this. So thanks for all you do, and to all of you, thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you, Troy. Thank you, Troy. I love working with the California Afterschool Network. I come up with ideas and yeah, okay, Fred, just do it. Yeah, whatever. So I appreciate it. So, all right. So we have everyone. That's everyone except for our special guest, Ms. Kwamara Thompson. So Kwamara, just want to say hello, give it a brief thing, because we have one more activity, then we're going to jump into your piece. All right. So a quick introduction for yourself, Kwamara.
Sure. So I'm Kwamara Thompson. I'm the Managing Director of Programs and Partnerships for Classroom Inc. I have the honor and the privilege to work with awesome educators across the country as we think about implementing this work, now fully virtual. And just one little, I know you said quick, but.
That's okay, do your thing.
Do I get special privileges here? No, something that I said about my past really resonated with a group of folks I just did a PD with, so I figured I would share it here as well. But I'd like to consider myself one of the pioneers of virtual classrooms. So when I was a teacher teaching in a urban high school out here in New Jersey about 15 plus years ago, I was an English teacher, and students had to pass my class in order to graduate. My class, my 8 o'clock a.m. class was the class that it was really hard for students to get to, and there was lots of pushback around they need to fail, and I'm like, I'm not gonna fail kids who can't get to school on time, because those kids who couldn't get to school on time, when I finally talked to them, I learned were the breadwinners of their family, and were working at the mall and had to take 3 buses back home and wouldn't get home until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And so what I decided to do is create a virtual classroom using Blackboard at that point in time. There wasn't even a full Google Suite. All we had was Google Docs. That's how early days it was. And I was able to create lessons that students could go ahead and engage in on at their own time, their own leisure. We would find time for them to connect with me so that they could ask any questions. We could make sure that they were still keeping up with the work, and they were all able to graduate and stay engaged with the work. And even now, 10 plus years later, I get so many conversations from these students who tell me, thank you for understanding, thank you for working, thank you for not punishing us. And so I always think about that. We have come full circle. Now we're doing the same thing for everyone, and also making sure that we're doing it in a very equitable way for all of our students. So I just wanted to say that piece.
Oh, and thank you so much. And I have down here on my list a star talking about the equity access piece of this, because I think we can't talk about delivering virtual trainings to folks if we don't talk about the equity issues that we're all facing now. So, and I know, Kwamara, you speak to that, so I'm excited to get into that conversation a little bit later on. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the nitty gritty, because I know you want to hear from Ms. Kwamara. So Kwamara is going to talk to us today about activating youth voice and choice through virtual learning environments. But before she starts to dig into that topic and really starting to talk about how Read to Lead is the perfect tool for that, there's a caveat I should say. In full disclosure, as a lot of you guys know, I got like 8,000 jobs. Y'all know I work all over the place, all over the city. I'm always doing something. But Read to Lead is one of my clients. And that's one of the reasons why I was very fortunate to be able to get Kwamara to come and show up today, because I actually work and support them here in California. So I've been working with Read to Lead now for almost 3-4 months, and it has been a tremendous experience. I've seen the organization. They're good at what they do, and just like I said, to be offered this type of resource for free to programs is just wonderful. And the organization really, when I talk about talking the talk and walking the walk, they do it. They've taken care of all of their employees ever since this whole thing has started, and they wanted us to make sure that we were taking care of the field, and that's why we're offering this resource out to everybody. So Kwamara, let's talk about Read to Lead. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about your journey from where you were when you left us off with your conversation with working in the classroom to what led you to Read to Lead, and then we can start talking about the topic.
Sure. So I'll answer that question in a minute, and you'll notice that I am good for going off script. So don't ever give me
Please do.
to write off of that. But I love this mindful minute that you just did, and I wanted to say something about this because I'm actually doing this very similar work with my team. And the way that we do it is twice a month. We take 2 hours a day to engage in just an hour of time together. We talk nothing work related. So we'll go through TED Talks. We went through a whole wellness workshop. We'll watch videos. We'll talk about books. And so the idea is really, I'm a huge proponent now of this concept called slow down in order to speed up. And the idea is that you take these moments of reflection and you really figure out what are the moments where I'm most happy, when I am most productive, and you make your day around that. And I think what's happening right now is allowing us some time to hopefully think through that, to do it personally, yes, but I also infuse that time professionally to help my team members also think about that wellness piece. So in terms of my journey,
because I know it's varied, because I know you got one of those resumes like mine where it's like, oh, she did that. Yeah.
Yeah, so my journey has taken me quite a few places. So I started off today talking a little bit about some experiences in high school, but actually that experience sort of is towards the end of my educational experience being directly in the classroom. So I'm actually going to just swing a little bit back further than that to just talk about a few things that really drove me into education, and then why I'm specifically so enthused to be working with Classroom Inc. and the work at Read to Lead. So I went to NYU Tisch School of the Arts on a scholarship, thinking I was going to be the next Spike Lee. I got that scholarship because I did a documentary when I was in New Jersey around race relations that won some national awards and got some acclaim. And I decided to do that when I was a junior and senior in high school. So I go to Tisch, and I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be the next Spike Lee. Everybody's going to know who I am. Like, life's going to be wonderful. But while I was doing that, I was always a hustler. I have always believed and continue to believe on multiple streams of income and never to be beholden to one paycheck. And so when I was in school, when I was in college, I had 3 different jobs, all of them related in education. One, Monday through Friday, I would go from 3 to 6, and I would work in an after-school program in Brownsville, Brooklyn. If anyone knows anything about New York City,
Yes.
Brownsville, Brooklyn was no joke, okay? Especially
No
in the
joke.
early 2000s. It's not like the Brooklyn that you know and you see now, and you see how uppity, I just will say, just how uppity it is. That's not the world I went to. It was the last stop on the L train, and then I had to walk about 15 minutes just to get to the school that I was working at. So high poverty, quite a bit of violence, etc. And coming back, it was dark and dangerous, but these were my people, and I never feel afraid hanging out with my folks. And then on Saturday mornings, I would get up early in the morning. I would go to Flushing, Queens, and work with Korean students, where they were first generation Korean students, and I was teaching them English. And then in the summertime, I would go back home to New Jersey, and I would work at a science camp where parents paid approximately $1,000 a week for their kids to do a science project.
Wow.
And I saw all of the disparity of what was going on in the educational system without even realizing that that's what I was doing. These were experiential. But I started to think to myself, how come some kids get XYZ and some kids get, ABC? And I thought that was a problem. And that really started me thinking about this philosophy that I have, that education is truly the civil rights movement of our time, right? You cannot take an education away from anyone. It is the great equalizer, and it is a way to ensure that people become equitable. So during that journey, I was still producing plays and off-Broadway plays and documentaries, even had a play that ran in London. Life was good. But after I graduated college, I was working at that science camp in particular. And there was this little boy that would come in every day, and his mom always dropped him off. But one day his dad came and said, "Who's KT?" I said, "Oh, that's me." Because, first of all, no kid was going to call me Miss Thompson or anything like that. And they couldn't pronounce Kwamara, so KT was fine. So who's KT? "Oh, that's me." And he was like, what are you doing with your life? And I was like, "Oh, man, I'm going to be the next female Spike Lee, da, 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 da." He was like, "No, you're not." He said, "Just look at you." He said, "You have transformed my child's life. He comes home every day talking about what he's learned from you, how enthused he is." He said, you are transforming lives and you don't even know it." Then he told me, "I'm the Patterson Board of Education president and you have a job." And that's literally how I started my career in education.
Wow.
So that was Patterson. Fast forward to that story I told you in the beginning. And I was in Newark, but because I did that equitable thing of creating this online classroom, it got to the attention of our superintendent, and she asked me to join our district's leadership team to help other educators transform their classrooms into equitable classrooms. This was also the advent of Common Core, and we were changing all of our teacher effectiveness practices. So I was a part of that work. And based off of the work that I did there, I got I won't say national acclaim, but I guess people started knowing my name. And so they started asking me to consult across the country around this particular work in all spaces. So nonprofit organizations, community-based organizations, charters, public schools, rural schools, it didn't matter, because all of these skills that we're talking about are transferable. And as you can tell, I believe in equity for all students. So I think about all students, not only them, but I also think about their communities. I also think about their parents. How are we communicating with them? Are we talking at them, or are we talking with people? Are we talking at students? Are we talking with students? And so all those skills also have to be transferred to a virtual environment. So how do you do that? And I know that's one of the questions we have, but you asked me about my journey. So that's kind of been my journey. And then about 3.5 or 4 years ago, Classroom Inc. found me and was like, "Can you do this work for us?" Funny story, I thought I was going to be at Classroom Inc. and the executive director knows this, so I'm not saying anything that can't be said on public. I was like, "Girl, I thought I was only going to be here for a year." And now here I am, still 4 years later, really proud of the work that we're doing, really proud of the team that we've put together. And I think everyone, what's really beautiful about Classroom Inc. and Read to Lead is everyone truly believes in our mission and truly believes in equity and access for all. And that does not always happen across the board.
Thank you. And listen, I think the stories matter because our stories are who we are. And not only that, one of the things that we talk about in this after school field in general is that it's never static, right? It's always evolving. Like we're learning right now, the school year is going to look totally different when it opens back up in the fall. So your flexibility, that life that you have, that's what I think makes you so effective in what you do. And I say that because I know with a lot of the folks here on this team, they have similar stories. Like they've come from here from a lot of different places. And it's good to know that that's why after school people are the bomb. Because we don't come to after school from sometimes the traditional, format. We come from so many different ways, and we bring that energy to our work. And so that's why I like to highlight the story. So thank you for that. But again, you're right. Let's talk about, now we're at the Read to Lead. So explain to these folks why I get so excited about Read to Lead. Not only because y'all give me a check, but because of the fact that, and just like I said, because I keep it real, but because of the fact of the work, the work that you guys are doing and the work that we're doing. So talk a little bit about that, and especially in relation to activating youth voice and choice.
Yeah, so Read to Lead is a digital literacy learning game. So I'll just talk about it from its conception and what it is, just like that. It is a digital literacy learning game where students are empowered to be the boss. It's essentially a virtual internship where they can either run a community service organization, they can run a community health clinic, or they can be editor-in-chief of an online magazine. Read to Lead is created by Classroom Inc., which is a nonprofit organization outside of New York City. But we have partners, obviously, all across the country with about, last time I looked at the numbers, I think it was like 40,000 students and 500 educators who use us across the country. Our mission is really to re-engage learners back into their education and their learning. The way we do that is through this Trojan horse known as Read to Lead. And the other piece is really about access and equity. So I think Fred mentioned, but we are free. We do not ask anyone to pay to use our resources. So that means that you have unlimited educator accounts, unlimited student accounts, and there's a whole bunch of wraparound materials as well as project-based learning. And that's actually one of the main reasons why I continue to work at Classroom Inc. and for Read to Lead, because a lot of people have mission statements that are about access and equity, but still ask for money. Well, the lack of funds is a lack of access, right? So, if you really care about access and equity, one of the things you do is, if you can, is to bring down that barrier to access. And we brought it down to its most basic level, which is free altogether. And that is because of the generous donors, foundations that fund our work. And we are allowed to be mission aligned. I think the question is, where are we able to access this? I can't really see what the chat is, but it's rtlgames.org. So R stands for Read to Lead, rtlgames.org. In addition, I am going to talk quite a bit about the equity pieces, but I say, in addition to all the, because of things that are going on, we are also offering a lot of free virtual resources as well. And I'll link those in the chat in a minute. Or Fred, if you want to go ahead and do it, it's going to be the yellow banner. If you go to readtoleadgames.org, just do that link. And that's all the virtual resources that we have. Those virtual resources are outward facing and this is where you talk about equity, they're outward facing for educators, they're outward facing for students themselves. So if students just want to do it and they don't have, they're not interacting with school, they're not interacting with their educators, but they want to continue some type of learning, there's student facing, and then there's parent facing. So for parents who are not educators, who are like, what in the world am I doing with my kids at home? How can I get them involved? Then that's what that virtual resource hub has. It also has the ability to sign up, talk to our instructional coaches, ask questions about Read to Lead, yes, but just like around the whole virtual and remote learning ecosystem that is going on right now.
And I just wanted to say, I'm sorry, my technology. I'm sending the link to individual people, and they're like, fool, you sent it to the wrong person. So I just reset all the links again. The technology is good. We're good. Sorry, we got you. I just sent the link for the marketing piece, which really breaks down what Kwamara is talking about. So if you want to kind of open that link up, and I'm going to send you that RTL Games link again. Now I know what I'm doing. Sorry, Kwamara, go.
No worries. I'm going to plug for my personal consultant tech, because I've been working with organizations as their virtual tech assistant. So if anyone needs help with the virtual technology pieces, making sure that they're running webinar without all the glitches that will make you anxious, I'm also available. But yeah, so back to Read to Lead. So the other piece that I really enjoy about Read to Lead, which keeps me here, is the diversity of characters that we have. As an educator, both in the classroom, after school, in so many different forums, we know that there is a dearth, and it's a shame, of curriculum and books and literature that really highlight the positive aspect of what it means to be a person of color in the United States of America. And that is one of the things that I absolutely love about our game. The characters are diverse, the students themselves are the boss, so they're put into positions of leadership. They also have to learn about people who may be different from them. You know, we have people who have varying amounts of sexual orientation, who are handicapped, who have disparate personalities, and they have to manage that stuff just like they would have to in the real world, regardless of what their personal belief systems are. How do you do that? And I think Read2Lead does an excellent job of putting that together. Also, when we talk about the equitable pieces, we have a text-to-speech functionality, which is both in English and in Spanish. And we also have connected to the API of Google Translate, so our games can be translated into any language that Google has access to.
Yeah, let's say that one more time for those in the back of the room. Any language. And that's huge, because like I know I worked in Queens and like in New York. That's one of the reasons why this program is so good, because I mean, we used to have up to 60 different languages in some of the schools in New York. So I mean, it's like, this is huge for that feature alone. So thanks for highlighting that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think that's a lot of what I wanted to say around diversity and equity, but I can talk, so youth voice and choice, so I can go here too. And just stop me, talk, pop questions in the chat. I do not necessarily like the sound of my own voice, despite what this is showing. But okay, yeah, so youth voice and choice. What's really great here is a few things. There are 3 different games that students can choose from. And within each game, there are different episodes that students can choose from. I always say, especially in the after school setting, let the kids choose their own adventure. Just like on Netflix and other streaming services, there's a little blurb that tells you what that episode is going to be about, what their problem is that they have to solve, and they can decide, like, man, I'm really interested in sports. I'm going to read the one about sports. Man, I'm really, COVID-19 is out here. I want to learn more about diseases and how diseases manifest in bodies. I'm going to read about that episode, and I'm going to engage with that episode. So I really think that the idea of being able to choose your own adventure is what I lovingly call it, is one of the great ways for students to activate their choice. And then we also have these project-based learning pieces where students take what they've learned from the game and then apply it to a real-world project. So they decide what the problem is that they want to solve that directly affects them, that directly affects their community, and then they lead. You facilitate, but they actually lead putting it together. And then, of course, they always have some kind of culminating presentation. You're probably thinking, Kwamara, how can they do that virtually? Well, there's lots of ways that kids can do this virtually. One of the ways is actually we're working right now on putting together a nice student-facing way to navigate through our projects. But the other thing is that we have lots of tools available to us. Students can collaborate on Nearpod, Canvas, Google Classroom, Canva, Pictochart, the Google Suite in general, to put these things together. The way that they can talk with each other is obviously through, again, we can do Zoom, but they can also do WhatsApp Live, they can do FaceTime, they can do Twitter, they can do Instagram. I mean, there's so many different ways that they can communicate that you can give them the avenue and the directions. And as long as it's clear, the kids can self-direct themselves through there. And now your third question may be,
and Kwamara, before you go to that third question, I want to sit on that one for just 1 second, because I think that one of the things, and I'm sure some of the folks are thinking this in the back of their head, what about digital safety? What's going on in other parts of the country in terms of making sure, because once we get past the equity access, right, the fact of just getting them online so that they can have internet so they can make this stuff work, how do we make sure that these students are going to be going to safe places? What's going on in the rest of the country? Because I know that's a big thing for a lot of us. I know here in LA, Afterschool All-Stars is a big partner for us in LA and in other parts of the state as well. But they couldn't even get started with the program until LAUSD said, you can even talk to the kids online, because there was so much that goes into that. So could you talk a little bit about what that looks like, digital safety, and what we should be aware of?
Yeah, so I think you're absolutely right. Certainly districts are So just like in curriculum, you have district approved curriculum. Now what you're also having is sort of district approved platforms that you can use. And as CBOs, I definitely think it is incumbent upon us to partner with the district and use the same kind of platform for a variety of reasons. A, the kids already are comfortable with it, but B, the district has already taken the time to vet it, to ensure that student safety is first and foremost. They're the ones who have the through their IT departments and their research departments to ensure exactly what can and cannot be used, how students can move along. And so if they have already approved, and I know that a whole bunch of districts have already approved Google Classroom, have not approved Zoom, but have moved on to like Google Meet and Microsoft Teams, then I would keep it there. But let's just say that you haven't gotten any action. Also incumbent upon us to set norms for students and for our own educator and teaching staff. So for example, if we're using Zoom, I think there's lots of norms that we can use. They've put in some high security functions. So the password, locking you can lock these sessions down. So for example, if your live virtual class starts at noon, by 12:10, you can lock it so no one else can come in, give the kids a little bit of time. To ensure that it's a safe space. Don't record so it doesn't sit in the cloud, or if it does, or if you are recording, make sure that it's password protected. So anytime I record, it's password protected. No one can go ahead and look at these recordings unless I send them the password. So there's definitely things that we can do inherently to just ensure that the environment is as safe as possible as we can make it. And then I think just setting norms, procedures, ensuring that students know what is appropriate for them to talk about. Like, even though you're in your home, you're still in school, right? You're still in an environment with other people. Yeah. So you want to be, you might want to just remind them of the kind of language that's respectful, just like you did, or just like you do at any point in time when you set up class rules or setting rules or rules of engagement, whatever you guys call it. You could do the exact same thing in your virtual environment to ensure that students know exactly what they should expect, that the environment is still safe for them, and that you're not accidentally finding students popping inappropriate pictures into the chats and etc. But Zoom certainly has lots of features that allows, like, for example, like if you don't want kids to talk to each other without you being able to see it, you can say, like, you can't turn, one participant can't talk directly to another. So there's actually a lot of safe fails within Zoom. I think people were rushed to judge because they didn't know those things, but if you go into it, you can really manage it and create a very safe environment.
Yeah, and I think, listen, none of us knew everybody's going to be using this thing at the same time, right? Who knew this was going to happen? So I think we're kind of building the plane as we're flying it. All right, so Kwamara, I know you had another point that you wanted to make, and just, we have about 6 more minutes. So will that be enough, or do you need a little bit more? I can give you 10.
I'm definitely a senior citizen here because I don't remember what I was going to say.
That's COVID. Just says COVID.
Oh, actually, I do remember. Okay. 3, if kids cannot access technology.
Yes.
If your students cannot access technology. Read to Lead still has printable materials that you can use, that you can give to students. So if you're sending off STEM kits, or if you're having some kind of pickup system, or you're mailing things out, you can still do the same thing with Read to Lead. We do have printable materials as well. I will say that the best way to engage is obviously through technology, but if the students really do not have access to technology, that is another way that we are also equitable for students who don't have access to technology. You can print out these materials.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So, all right. So that was a lot, right? That was a lot, but there was a lot of really good stuff. And what I really loved about this, and I know everyone across the country has similar things. Here in California, we're really all about the California quality standards, right? So this is in direct alignment with the quality standard for youth voice and leadership, right? How do we get youth to interact? They're their own bosses. They're their own bosses. They're in a business where they're making these decisions about, how should I do this? What should I do now? And they self-select all of this stuff. That's why I love the program. I don't openly advocate for stuff unless it's something that works. You guys know that. And it really does work. The thing is, and it's free. Now, the caveat with free is this. Sometimes when you don't pay for something, you don't value it. And we know that, right? That's why a lot of times they say you have to put skin in the game, right? Just know that Read to Lead is here to support you in any way that they can. But they also have some paid functions also if you want a much more robust rollout of your program. In other words, you want like Kwamara to come in and do her thing and to really work with your staff to get it up and running. It's affordable, but if you don't, you can totally do this with your staff on your own. We got programs doing this across the country. All right, so I just wanted to make sure that everyone really understands that. All right, so now we have about 5 more minutes. Kwamara, we're going to give them everybody, because there's a couple of questions in the chat, so I'm going to get to. Was there anything else that you wanted to kind of button up your this topic before I go to letting folks ask questions?
No, I just think that it's super important. I mean, one of the things, as we know, as after-school providers, CBOs, that students vote with their feet, right? And that same is going to be true virtually. They're going to sign in and log on if they want to, and they do not have to. And that's also true for the school day. If they don't want to log in at any point in time, they do not have to for lots of reasons. So we want to make sure that we are putting all of the components together that will engage them, that will inspire them, and that will empower them. So I just wanted to say that.
I love that. Engage, empower, and inspire. That should be, that's a book. I'm writing that down. Engage, empower, and inspire.
And I should just add really quickly that when a student finishes a day of work, which is what we call an episode, they don't know it, but they've read 5,000 words. If they complete an entire program, they've read the equivalent of 2 books. And most of the time they have no idea, because they're just engaged with the drama, the episodicness of what is going on, and being able to create these decisions. So one of the things that we do is, I call it the Trojan horse of learning, right? Kids are learning but don't even know it. And so I think that that's really special too.
We are, right? That's where we are. And you know what? I'm not going to say I'm fortunate because I don't have kids, because I don't look at kids like that. I love kids, but I teach because I love to work with kids, and then I love to send them home, right? But parents are now in this position where they have their kids and they're trying to work. And, you know, I know there's a lot of guilt that comes for a lot of parents, because I know some of my friends who are like good people, are like, I had to put them on the TV for 3 hours just to get something done. Or I had to put them on the video game just to get something done. So what this does is it gives you an opportunity that they can still live in the format that they're used to, but they can actually be learning something, right? And the parents can help to track them. The parents can help to go through this and help them to see, and the parents can have conversations with them after an episode, like, oh, how was your day at work today with Read to Lead? What you guys do, what kind of decisions did you have to make? Imagine parents having those conversations with their kids every day during this crisis. How much growth we could see, you know? Once again, this wraps it up. And again, the reason why Laura is the bomb, because it is 2:28. We have 2 minutes that she wrapped this up and still gives me the time to run my mouth and to give the thanks again. So number one, let's thank Troy Selvey from the California Afterschool Network for coming up with this proposal and helping me to sponsor this. I want to thank Laura Wasson, extraordinary facilitator and co-host. Give her a big round of applause, okay? And then, of course, last but not least, let's give a big round of applause for Ms. Kwamara Thompson, who I know had 8,000 meetings already today and showed up just like the rest of us. Thank you, Kwamara. We really appreciate hearing from you, but more so than that, we appreciate your spirit and your energy for this work, and we're thankful that you are in the field. And as I did the last few videos, I wanted to end this one the same way. We're after school. That's who we are. That's what we do. And one of the things I know that you know is that you never get the recognition that you deserve or that you need. You guys are doing wonderful, amazing stuff all the time. You're innovators, you're movers, and you're shakers. And you get to do a lot of stuff that no one tells you you're doing a good job. So if no one has told you how amazing you are, how wonderful you are, how beautiful you are inside and out, let me be the first person to tell you that today. And every day, just put me on a little dial in the back of your head when you're having those issues. Just remember Fred saying, I'm wonderful, I'm beautiful, I got this. You do have this. Thank you so much for coming and showing up for these webinars. I appreciate it. It will be on YouTube. I'll do my best to make sure that if you're on there, your pictures are small so we don't see all your pores and all this stuff like that. I got you. Don't worry about it. And I appreciate all of you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And please show up for happy hour if you can to say hello, all right? So everyone's good?
Thank you so much.
Later. Thank you so much. Bye.